There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. You know, I have to say that there are shows, and then there are shows. This is one of those shows. So, I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. Brachelle, I would love for you to introduce our guest that we've been waiting for a while now, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, we've been patient, and I don't think either one of those is our strong suit, so congratulations and go us. But today's been one of those days, and you know what I'm talking about, Kevin. But we have Melissa here with us today. I'm going to let her tell you all the fantastic and fabulous things that she does. But if you're along with this conversation and you think, hey, I want to go see more and get some information, then visit themelissaleeparent.com. And Melissa, thank you so much for being here. As Kevin said, we have waited so patiently for you. So how are you today?
Thank you for having me, and I am amazing. I'm so looking forward to this opportunity.
And first of all, I have to say thank you for your service.
Yeah.
It was an honor and a pleasure, genuinely.
And somebody's saying, what? She was in the military? What's that all about?
Yeah. Yeah. A long time. Yeah.
Nah, I got to ask you because, you know, how can I put this the way that I want to say it without, you're not hard to look at. You're a very pretty girl. And did you experience what some women say that happens to them in the military? Did you experience some of those things because of who you are?
I genuinely can't say. That would come from a place of judgment and opinion. What I can say is that I was a female in male-dominated fields.
Yep. Well, you did a damn good job because you were there for a long time and you are well respected. So my boots are off to you.
Thank you. My service was somewhere between 14 and 15 years, depending upon what paperwork you look at. So I round up for misery. Because let's be like, there are aspects that were definitely miserable, but there are aspects that were genuinely I love and I miss to this day. And so as a woman in male-dominated fields, there are certain things that come with it that you learn to navigate. Sometimes you get thick skin and sometimes you just get some really good trauma.
Or you get to pop off, which we both know.
Yep.
Well, and I want to apologize ahead of time because, well, we'll edit it out anyway. So never mind, forget that. If she says something that is not according to the FCC compliant regulations, then we'll figure that out. But that's okay. And Melissa, you have a website. Tell us about your website. Welcome to Unbound. I love that.
Yes. So my website is currently under construction because we are completely shifting directions.
Ooh, that's exciting. Tell us.
We are. So I am currently holding a multifaceted role and I'm streamlining my life. I have decided to no longer pursue a license in Hawaii to become a clinical counselor. I will still be a therapist, but in title only. I have my license in Idaho, but I am hanging up the therapist hat and I am focusing on coaching, energy work, and mindfulness, and leaving the clinical space behind. So I'm going fully in to taking clients around the world and helping them heal the things that hold them back without judgment, without major analysis, but saying, what's binding you? What's your limitation?
Well, if I may ask, Melissa, what created the shift?
I really hate the traditional treatment model.
Yeah.
I hate that if people were to, I'm not villainizing therapy. Let's back up. Therapy is an amazing thing. It really is. Go get therapy. Heal,
Yeah.
please. For everybody else's sake and yours. Please do the
Yeah.
healing. When people go see traditional therapists and they utilize insurance, a therapist is required to diagnose you if they're going to bill insurance. I am not a fan of diagnosing people. There is a time and place for everything, and I don't believe everybody needs a diagnosis.
Yep.
But if somebody were to come to me as a traditional therapist and use their insurance, I am legally required to diagnose them. And
That's
then,
not good.
no, it's not. It's not. And then I have to
Irritating.
ensure that my diagnosis matches my treatment plan, matches my notes, because if the insurance ever audits it, it all has to match. So
But that's not how therapy works, because people change, people grow, things.
Yep.
And you
so
know what?
then that means I would have to go back in, change my diagnosis, change my treatment plan. And so it's a continual push-pull.
So what's the opposite that you did of that? I'll tell you, Melissa, is because I'm kind of in charge for quite a few younger ones. And something that I have realized is that we need someone else to talk to.
Yep.
Because I'm not qualified, and Berchelle's getting a little bit heavy. And
Yeah.
so when I turn them that different direction, or when I try to guide someone else, what's the other approach to that you took?
So I am leaning fully into coaching, where I am able to pull from clinical models, from the therapy space, but I can also use a lot more of life experience. I can use more holistic methods.
Yeah.
I can lean more into somatic work. I can directly tailor and adjust to the person as needed and meet them fully where they're at, without so many restrictions, without so many limitations. And it's, yeah.
I want to share this with our audience, and that is this: when you are a coach / therapist / energy worker / medium or psychic, you have got the ability to take everything that is out there and to build a plan that actually works holistically for that particular individual, without regard to the rules and regulations that you're stuck with. Emma, is that being fair?
No, that's 100% true. And I'm not limited by geography either. So, say I'm in a situation where I live here in Hawaii, but I meet somebody who lives on the East Coast. In a therapeutic space, I could not legally work with them because I'm not licensed in their state.
I didn't know that.
Right. But as a coach, I can work with anybody, anywhere.
So I got a question. Can you work with somebody in Kenya?
Yep.
Well, I got a guy.
Amazing. Hi.
Go ahead, Rochelle.
Hi, Samuel. We love you. Please stay up just a little longer so that we can be in touch. But Samuel says, greetings, brother Kevin McDonald, sister from another mother, Rochelle, which we don't hear very often. And guest Melissa Lee, parent. We are watching you live from the Kaiberia slums in Nairobi, Kenya, with my team. This is our favorite program show. God bless you, Positive Talk Radio Show. Kaiberia is tuned in. And just so you know, which we're going to talk about a lot, if you're sick of hearing about this, stop watching the show. Because we're going to talk about it a lot. But for you to be here and to spread this message, it's not just how you said, in people who are maybe in one space. And Samuel is helping feed children and providing a community and an education system. Me and Kevin are starting to do more work, and this is the whole point of what you do, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't know about you, Kevin, I didn't know there were restrictions based off of how you help people, which seems kind of odd in my mind.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So on one, it's a duality. I can understand it from an ethical and legal standpoint. You want to ensure that people are qualified to provide the help and support. You want to ensure that they aren't taking on clients that need a higher level of care than what you can provide. That is a very real concern. Totally respect that. But also, I believe it's a bit of a throwback to an outdated system, a system that hasn't evolved as quickly as the rest of the world.
2025 is full of humanity is not restricted anymore. So.
Right. And with all these changes, I believe that we get to be a little bit more flexible, and that leads into living a life that is unbound, that no longer is stuck within the perceived parameters and programming that we've been told for decades, and that we no longer have to live in that perceived cage.
That perceived cage is a bunch of crap anyway.
Agreed. So much of it is just somebody else's BS that we've adopted as our own. But that BS came from somebody else, which came from somebody else. And nobody really knows where it came from, but it's just been accepted as this is the way. So therefore it is.
And then it's crazy, Kevin. I have to say this so you can continue your thought, because there's some of us who accept being in that cage, and there's other of us who feel like we're qualified to run circles around it.
Yep.
I'm one of those.
Yep.
If I'm not running away from it, I'm doing circles around it, and that's another part of humanity, right, Kevin?
Yeah.
Well, and I get it. In the traditional therapeutic world, they want you to sit on a couch and have the therapist be sitting across from you so that you can communicate, but they aren't necessarily even paying attention half the time. And because they're looking at their clock and their watch and what time do I get out of here and stuff. Whereas in your world, because of the tools that you have, you can touch somebody from around the world. And and some people will say, well, how is that possible? Well, it's because of the energy that you have and your ability to pick up the energy of the individual, which is a much better indication of the help that they need rather than the words that they say. Am I correct in that?
Yes, 100%. Like, energy doesn't lie. It's I do prefer doing most of my work, if I can't do it in person, over video, because we learn so much about people's body language. It's not always what do you say, how do you say it?
Yep.
Are you shutting down? Are you withdrawing? Are you looking to the side? And then so that's our story, though. Our healing isn't just the words. It's how has it impacted us? Where do we feel it in our body? How does it affect our day-to-day life that we don't even notice? And so as we start healing those patterns, which is our energy, how we move through life, then we can also heal the emotional and the mental.
And that is a fundamental difference than traditional therapy.
100%. Traditional therapy, it has its place. It truly does. I'm not villainizing it. There's pros and cons to everything. There might be one stage in your life where traditional therapy is the jam. It's the best thing for you. Yeah. But you can also outgrow that and need more. Yeah. Or it could be that you've reached a certain point and you need that traditional therapy to help nudge you. And so it's having the awareness of where are you and what are you willing to try versus judging the healing process and pulling away completely.
And I know we need to take a break. I'm going to let Kevin take us there. But one of the things I'd love to touch on that has become kind of a new thing that keeps coming up with me and Kevin in our shows is how much your body holds on to.
Yes.
And so the brain can only do so much to not bring that back, whether you realize it or not. And I'd love to touch how you kind of understood that and how you're using that to help other people, because I go through that too, and we all do.
Yeah. So a very popular book that's spoken about quite a bit is The Body Keeps the Score. Phenomenal book. Part of the research that the author did was with veterans, which is, we all know as being a veteran, is a very hot, passionate topic for me. And he was in a VA hospital studying people. And he was able to take his clinical study and compare it to some of the things we see in the wild. He used the comparison of a cheetah chasing a gazelle. Gazelle gets away from the cheetah. He's standing there shaking. And people would assume that the gazelle is shaking because it's fearful. But what the gazelle is actually doing is that he's shaking off the adrenaline, the trauma.
Yeah.
People, we don't do that. We store it. We pack it down.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to stop you. I want to leave us on a cliffhanger because we need to take a break, and I want you to take this as far as possible.
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll be right back. Way to go, Rochelle. Nice catch. For way too long, we've allowed shadows to dictate our steps. Our clamor of division, the whisper of fear, and the harsh grip of hate. They've tried to define us. But this is our moment of truth. We remember who we truly are. Not just separate islands, but a vast ocean of shared humanity. We declare our independence from the narratives that have pulled us apart. We choose curiosity over judgment, empathy over indifference, understanding over accusation. This isn't about ignoring our differences. It's about celebrating the strength woven into our tapestry. It's about remembering that progress isn't built on exclusion, but on common ground. So let the banners of kindness fly high. Let the anthem of unity ring out. This is our declaration, our independence from what limits us, our freedom to truly connect. Because together we are stronger. And together, we are free. And this declaration is brought to you by Positive Talk Radio. And welcome back to Positive Talk. And my name is Kevin, and Brochelle's right there, and Melissa is right there. Melissa Lee Parent, correct?
Yes.
And your website is?
TheMelissaLeeParent.com.
Very good. And it's under construction right now, but when do you anticipate the construction to be over and it's going to be a dynamic presence in the industry?
Within the next week. My goal is to have it up by Veterans Day.
Perfect day to have it up. You know, I got to tell you, because we've talked to a lot of folks that are in the military or have been in the military. I think, and I'd love your opinion on this, being a vet yourself, I think we do as a society. We ask these young people of 18 to 20 to 22 to go into unthinkable situations. And then they come back here and we say, well, you know, that's all done and now you're perfect and all that stuff. We do not take care of the trauma and the things that they need to work through so they can live a great life. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
What's yours?
No, I agree. I unfortunately see it all too often. I was raised in a military family surrounded by World War II, Korea, and Vietnam vets.
Yep.
I'm the 9/11 generation. I'm the generation of those of us who, you know, we were in high school, you know, juniors and seniors when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. We all joined. And we all went to a very hot, sandy place for very long times and saw some not amazing things.
Yeah, which leads exactly into what you were saying beforehand and why you made the shift. So if you remember, I'll let you continue that thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So
some powerful stuff.
Yeah. So for the sake of time and not to go down the very scientific rabbit hole, I'm going to be
Of course.
It's like let's be real. It's easy to geek out on it. So I am going to oversimplify on how trauma is held in the body. You know, before the break, I used the example of the cheetah chasing the gazelle shaking it off. People, when we get out of a traumatic experience where it spikes our adrenaline, we don't shake it off. We stuff it down, push it down and keep going, push it down and keep going. And so that gradually gets stored in our body. And it manifests in different ways. It could manifest in aches and pains, inflammation. For myself, I didn't realize it, but like I started having major sciatica issues. And then I started doing more advanced yoga things where I would get weird triggers. I'm like, why is this pose? Like, what's so spicy here? Out of nowhere, I would just start bawling and I didn't understand it.
Yep.
And that's where trauma was being stored in my body. So using the traditional therapeutic model, we quite frequently are only focusing on what's going on in our beautiful brain noodle. You know, how are we taking care of this? But we're not thinking about how are we taking care of the somatic side, the body side. You know, we're focusing on only healing our gray matter when our body is directly connected to our emotions, our memories, our triggers. You know, you can have, ladies, please bear with me, this could be a hot trigger. If a woman has been sexually assaulted, if somebody comes up and breathes on the back of her neck, that can be a trauma trigger.
Yeah.
And that's on like the somatic side. That's something that is a physical thing that triggers a mental and emotional reaction. It's true for service members. Again, if somebody comes up behind them, it's your body is living in its parasympathetic because all this stuff is stored. Mm-hmm. It's all trapped and we've never processed it and released it. And so the important part in the healing process is not just focusing on our brain, but regulating our nervous system, healing the things that are stored in our body so that when we do have the breathing on the back of your neck or you're going into the different yoga poses, that trauma isn't activated and you'd have this visceral reaction without realizing, oh, shoot, there's something there.
Now, Melissa, I gotta.
The way you stopped
that was a very good way for a simple guy like me to even understand. So thank you for that. But I want to ask you, is the component of the body, is that your energetic system at work and the chakras and how that's all put together? And when we stuff stuff down, then we get blocked and our energy doesn't flow the way it's supposed to. Is that all kind of the same concept of how that all works?
I wouldn't say it's the same, but it is connected. It's in the same family.
Okay.
So energetically, we do store things. But our body also has memory, muscle memory. You got to think, an athlete, they're used to swinging that same baseball and they get so good at it that they could swing the baseball in this exact motion, in the exact way every single time. That's muscle memory. So energetically, our body does store it. And so that is like on the Reiki energy healing, your chakras, but also you have the muscle memory of where your body has physically stored that trauma. And that can be a I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole. Let me breathe. A psychosomatic connection. Throttle back, Melissa. So that could be like a psychosomatic. And so it can be a duality. It can be an energetic thing, or it's that your brain correlates this pain or this situation with this experience, even on a subconscious level.
And that's
so how did you figure this out of how to let people release that and because a lot of us think that there's no options. Yes. I know.
My own healing journey.
Yeah.
Like legit, I wish I could give you something beautiful and profound, but really, it was my own healing journey. It took
Experience.
a lot of experience. My
But
trauma
Melissa,
story started when I was in diapers.
Me too, girl. At least I'm not alone. Praise God.
but I did want to say that is your story and your journey and your experiences is extraordinary
Yes.
because it's led you to where you are today, which I happen to believe that you picked this work that you are doing before you were even born, before you even got here.
I agree. I didn't know a lot of this until I started doing my own healing.
Yeah.
Like when I started having this sciatica issues, it never occurred to me that it was because I had repressed trauma. It was just like, maybe I just should stretch some more. And so I went from a casual yoga practice to a more serious yoga practice. And then it was within that yoga practice where these other triggers were coming up. Here we would insert a lot of expletives. And I was like, what is going on? Like, what is this? And so I started doing more work and more research. And then I started being exposed to different things. And that led me down on my whole rabbit hole of like, oh, wait, there's this. Let's check out Reiki. I want to learn Reiki. And then I started learning about generational trauma. And it's like, oh, what am I carrying? Oh, I had all this stuff from my childhood that I was carrying. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I just thought it led to me abusing alcohol and making bad decisions. I didn't realize it was all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And so the more I healed, the more I learned and the more I grew. And I was like, oh, so then this is a thing. Like, yeah, science is great. I love it. But there's all this other stuff that we've just kind of brushed under the rug because it wasn't mainstream.
Yep.
And
I want to ask you, Melissa, too, before we take this next break, how much of that was you, I'll just put in one simple word, allowance and forgiveness. Was that the hardest curve of it, or was it doing it?
all of it. All of
That's fair.
all of it in different
Yeah.
phases, in different stages. So, really fast, I'll be the first to say F forgiveness. Not everybody deserves forgiveness. However, you deserve to forgive yourself. Now you can accept what happened. Accepting is far more obtainable than forgiveness.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself. Accept that sometimes things just suck, but it doesn't mean you stay in the suck.
Amen. Kevin, do you see why I waited so long to have her on the show?
She just is mesmerizing. Because I want to ask your opinion on this before we go to break. And that is that forgiveness of others is self-defeating. It's the forgiveness of yourself and allow them to be who they are and to erase them as an individual from your world and from your life because they do not serve you, never have, but you were the victim, and so therefore you need to forgive yourself for that, but not for the victimhood, but for what happened, because it wasn't your damn fault to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Forgive yourself for holding the space for them for so long. Forgiving yourself for blaming yourself after the fact. Forgiving yourself for how you reacted to it. Because that was the best you could do at the time. Those were the tools you had.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. Yeah, but forgiving them, not everybody's worth it. Don't pressure yourself to forgive them.
Melissa, the more we talk, I love you more and more. Like, okay, somebody's on my vibe. Because if it starts with me, it doesn't have to end with them. I think that's probably the smartest thing I've ever said. I don't even know where it came from. You sparked that, but there's
Perfect.
so
It's
much
perfect.
truth because if I carry you alongside me, I'm giving you power. And
It
F
is. And it's
that.
like, right. And maybe down the road, somebody in their healing journey can learn to forgive
Yes.
somebody from their past, or
Yes.
they can forgive that version of them. That's great. But there's so much pressure on us to, oh no, you should forgive them. You should forgive them. I'm not there yet. How about I just accept what they did so I can continue healing and release that energy, release that attachment, release that pressure, that judgment, that opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's what it takes to forgive. That's the whole point.
Yep.
And then you have to allow yourself to be who you are. Otherwise, you're just shoving it down and fighting against it. Anyway,
Facts.
Kevin has been quite the person to teach me that. So I will let the wonderful Kevin take us to break. And when we come back, I would love to deep dive a little bit more because I think for once, Kevin might have a little more questions than I do. So I'm going to let him.
Well, I'll tell you this: the conversation that you guys just had for the last 2 minutes just kind of wiped out a bunch of questions that I had, but and a bunch of thoughts that I had. But I'm going to break, and when we come back from the break, I want to ask you this: that understanding why somebody did something to you doesn't mean you have to forgive them for what they did. You're just understanding it, but you're just letting it go, and not erasing them from your mind because they no longer matter. It happened in the past. It's done. It's over. Forget it. You get to live today and in the future with the understanding of what you are now, not the person that you were then. So forgive yourself. I want to ask you if that's a good therapeutic or coaching method to use. Maybe I should be a coach. No, I couldn't.
Works for me.
We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Brachelle is right there. And this is How to Live Your Life Better 101, starring Melissa Lee Parent. And because I say this to Brachelle all the time, or actually she says it to me more these days, is, the people that we've had on, I've learned so much from them. And when I say you are one of those, that's what I mean, is that you are helping her understand some of the concepts and things that 2 years ago she would have said, screw that. I'm not going to listen to any of that. But she's learning. And so it's great. It's great. So, Brachelle, I know you have another question.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering more or less, I'm going to put it in this view for you, and I love your answer because you understand both sides. And there is this side of, I should forgive them for my own well-being, but I don't understand them. Hold on, let me back up. I've been through this path recently where there's no excuse, right? Because some of us as humans, we go through experiences and we let it define us in either a way that can move forward or a way that crushes us and carries that through everybody without us. I'm wondering how we use that intertwinedly to say, hey, I forgive me and I allow and understand without necessarily giving somebody permission or understanding and allowance of why they acted the way they did, because I've been through horrible things, things I would never speak about. And now I've chosen to become more of it. And some of us don't, right?
Mhm.
And we carry it on. And that's why we're all sitting here, is because we've experienced those kind of people. So what's I hate the word balance, but where does it come in harmony with yourself?
We're gonna want to
That's
beat
a
me out
very
here.
broad question. I'm so
Yep,
sorry.
no, we're gonna want to beat me out here. We've been warned.
Okay.
We ready?
I'm not trying to get you started,
No,
and
it's
I
okay.
won't
It's
stop
okay,
either.
because
But
there is no way for me to say this next statement.
okay,
Fuck the why.
why?
Beep. Sorry.
But why?
For that reason right there.
What?
But why?
You just twisted your noodle. I love the way that you did that.
No,
Because
it makes sense. It clicks because
No matter how many times a person explains their why, if it doesn't make sense to you, if you don't understand it, it's not a good enough reason. So it's very similar with small children that always say, but why? And you would give them the most basic explanation.
Yeah.
But why? And so you try and explain again. But why? And then you try to explain again. So until that why makes sense in your beautiful brain noodle, that explanation, that why, is utterly worthless.
So you get to decide for yourself, and it's only ultimately up to the person.
Right? So they could explain their why, and to them, it makes complete sense why they did something.
Yes.
But if it doesn't translate to your name, that's not, or to your logic, that why is not a good enough reason to explain why they did what they did. And so you're constantly stuck in this why loop, trying to understand where they came from, when really it boils down to radical acceptance of just accepting they did what they did.
Yeah.
Quite frequently, it doesn't have a single thing to actually do with you. It's their stuff, not your stuff. Yeah. That's their journey, not your journey. That's
well, is this where excuses kick in? How, some of us are like, oh, well, there was an excuse.
Are a gray area, because sometimes things are legitimately excuses and sometimes they're facts. And unless that really aligns with us, and that goes down a whole other rabbit hole of accepting, understanding. At what point does giving somebody grace turn into enabling?
Yes.
Right? And so all of these things are interconnected. And so in the healing journey, instead of focusing on trying to understand why they did something, sometimes they just did it and it sucks. And you get to move on and you get to leave them there. Sometimes it's from a place of like, I don't get why you did this, but I see that you are hurt and you did the best you could in that moment. Now that best might not have been amazing, but okay, I get to now navigate and I get to heal and grow from it.
Yeah. And it all boils down to choice.
Right? But if we get too fixated on their actions and their process, it hinders us from our own process, our own growth. We stay stuck in that energy, in that place.
Melissa, I got to ask you this, because the gospel according to Back to the Future.
Yeah.
In Back to the Future 3, he is confronted by a bully. And this bully wants to take him out, and they were going to have a gunfight. And he said, I think one of the most the best line that I can describe, because I had a friend of 10 years have a sexual relationship with my wife while I was married to her. So I could have gone to him and said, why did you do that? I chose not to, because he's just an asshole. Excuse the expression.
Yeah.
And
This show's gonna be exciting of bleeping. It's like she gave us permission.
And
You're
and so,
welcome.
yeah, and so from that standpoint, I want nothing to ever do with that individual again for the rest of my life, because they're not worth the time, and I can't make them worth the time, and I can't save them from themselves, because he did something that is virtually, I couldn't even imagine doing something along those lines, but he did. That makes him just complete, not even worth talking to. So I didn't. And so fortunately I didn't have a gun, because in the short term I'd have used it on him, if you know what I mean. But in the long run, it was like, and her the same way. It's like, I don't need to pollute my energy with people like that. Is that a good philosophy?
Honestly, yes. There's a difference between avoidance and being selective, protecting your peace. A lot of people live in avoidance and use the excuse of protecting their peace because they just don't want to deal with it. But in situations like that, where you look at it as like, is there anything to gain here?
Mm-hmm. Is
there any positive outcome outside of me moving on with my life? And it's really, and it's having that raw honesty with yourself.
Exactly that.
And there are times where we just had to be like, no, like, it is better for me all the way around for me just to cut you out of my life. And whatever your reasoning might be, it's not even worth hearing.
Doesn't matter.
No.
Because the actions speak louder than words. And if he could not tell me anything, it's like, oh, she threw herself at me. Well, I don't have any idea. I wasn't there, but I don't care. Because it's over. It's done. I have no, and that's how, maybe it's a rationalization on my part, but that's how I was able to heal through it, and not deal with it anymore. And stuff, because when you when you have trauma in your life, and you know this, and Brichelle knows this, when you have trauma and you re-go over it and you re-go over it and you recreate it and you redefine it, and it comes back and comes back, then you feel the same things that you felt when it originally happened, and you don't need to put yourself through that. Is that good?
No, I agree wholeheartedly. It's one of the reasons why I am not a fan of traditional talk therapy, because quite frequently, and it's one of the reasons why I had such an aversion to therapy before I went into, working mental health myself, is quite frequently I would come out feeling worse than what I went in, because I kept having to rehash the same stuff over and over. And it felt like I was picking at a wound and never letting it fully heal.
Yeah, and we do that on our own without the therapy.
100%. Now, there are times where it is necessary to talk it out.
Yes.
Where there are, but it's not everything is worth talking out. Not everything do we need to get to the root of the issue. Not everything do we need to unpack and rehash. I love using this analogy with my clients, is sometimes we get to heal like a pearl. You have the irritant, the piece of sand that's in the oyster. And instead of trying to get to the root of it, that piece of sand, that irritant, we heal around it and we create a beautiful pearl.
And how do we acknowledge, before we take this break, I know we're going to be a little late, but how do we acknowledge...
No, we're not going to take the break.
Okay. How do we acknowledge where we are at in ourselves and how to handle something that is in our best interest. I think a lot of people, like me and Kevin talk about, we don't have the knowledge, we don't have the understanding, so we don't know how to handle the situation.
There's so many things that comes down to self-awareness, being willing to have that raw, open reflection on yourself without judgment, without criticism, with just pure love and acceptance of being able to sit and ask yourself, is this a help or is this a hindrance? Is me getting to root of this going to be a help, or is me digging through my ish going to be a hindrance?
Yeah.
Am I avoiding? Am I deflecting? Am I escaping? Or am I truly acknowledging that, you know what, this thing is here and it's not in my highest good to unpack it? How do I heal around it? How do I disempower this trauma so that it no longer affects my day-to-day life? You know, and I love, love, love to tell people, because I learned this the hard way. Healing doesn't have to hurt, but you have to be willing to feel your stuff.
Yep.
And it's not what we've been through. It's, can we take the power away from it? The trauma doesn't have to rule your life. You don't have to heal all the stuff, but you can create a healthy relationship with the stuff.
And that's kind of what Kevin tells me, but hearing it from you is a little different.
Sometimes, like if we're going to be real here, most of the self-help people, the books, the podcasts, whatever guru you want to assign power to in that moment, they're all saying the same BS message in a different way.
Yes.
Like legit, if you really get down to the brass tacks, a lot of these people are telling you the same message. It's how are they putting it in the fancy wrapping paper?
Well, a lot of these people will say, you need to revisit it in order to heal from it. And my opinion is, and tell me if you think this is close, in my opinion is, okay, it happened. It's done. It's gone. It will never bother me again, because I'm never going to allow that kind of crap to go on in my life again. And I'm going to live today for today. And I'm going to live it better. And then tomorrow becomes today. And then the next day becomes today. And you're going to live and you're going to decide how you want to live for today, not what happened yesterday. You can't do anything about that. You can only do how you can do today. Does that make sense?
It does. And that's where I say it's a duality. It goes back to that being really honest with yourself of like, are you avoiding it? Did something traumatic happen and you're just saying, okay, it happened yesterday, I'm going to move on, and you just leave this traumatic there? Or are you going to heal around it? You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to revisit it. It doesn't mean that you have to unpack it. You know, there has to be an awareness of like, okay, this is impacting me. There is some ish that comes with it. It doesn't mean that I need to revisit it, but I need to be aware of, okay, how is this changing my habits, my thought process, my emotions? How do I cope with things? You know, and so there is a differentiation there. You know, am I avoiding the healing work and repressing, or am I able to acknowledge it's theirs? How do I get to move through it and not live in it? You know, so like there's a lot of, we'll use veterans again as an example. There's a lot of veterans who don't deal with the trauma from deployments. Right. And they come home and they end up with abusing alcohol, short tempers, sleep disturbances, you know, all of these markers of PTSD, but they think they've dealt with it because they leave their trauma of deployment in the sandbox. But they don't realize how different they are now that they've come home. But the people around them see this difference.
And that's why there are so many military suicides.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And it's because they, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've never been in the military. I aged in at 1975, and that was right after the Vietnam War, and nobody wanted to go into the military at that moment in time. But but a lot of there doesn't appear to be, in the people that I've talked to, a lot of exit interview help that these guys get on their way out, because there are so many of them, I suppose. And so they just say, well, go home and learn to deal with it, or forget about it. Or so I don't know what they say. What do they say?
It's really multifaceted. It comes down to a few different things. It used to be when you would come home from a deployment, you had R&R en route to home. So you had kind of some decompression time. Now it is that we'll be sitting in the sandbox on a Tuesday, and by Friday we're sitting with our families and they expect us to be normal. When
That's
we're
not
just
possible.
like, there's no time to decompress and breathe.
Yeah, that it doesn't seem to be even possible to me, because you're still, because I've known people that are still concerned about driving down the road, and there's a box on the side of the road,
Yep.
and they're thinking that it's an AID or whatever they call it, that is going to blow us up. And this is like in, like Montana or something.
Yep.
And it's not going to happen. But that is a visceral reaction, internal reaction that they've had because they haven't dealt with the stuff to get it out. Is that right?
Yep. And then there's also the stigma. It's the stigma to go get help. So while we are in the military, it's changed a lot. But it's still a thing that it's considered career suicide to go get mental health support, because it can negatively impact, like, you getting your security clearance if it's renewed. Like, oh, have you ever been diagnosed with XYZ thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, well, then are you still stable for that security clearance, do that job, or are you a little off bubble? And so a lot of people won't get the support, or they don't want that label that, oh, they aren't strong enough, or they aren't capable to handle these feelers. And so they just repress it and numb out with alcohol, escapism. And then once they come home, again, there's the stigma. And then there's the very long wait to get help from the VA, which is a whole other.
And to go to a therapist or somebody outside of the VA is very expensive. And
if the VA gives you a referral, there's a lot of providers who won't even accept the VA as a provider anymore, because the reimbursement rate takes so long and it's so low. So care in the community providers, so contracted standard providers, a lot of them don't want to work with the VA anymore because they don't know if they're going to get paid.
Goodness gracious.
It's a whole snowball. And so a lot of veterans, like I said, between the stigma, the wait, the fight to get care, they just give up.
Yep.
And they won't do it.
So how do we create the change from what you've learned?
Reminding people they're not alone. Talking about it.
Conversations like this.
Removing judgment. For me, a lot of humor. A lot of humor. When I work with my clients, I have the foulest mouth and I tell the dirtiest jokes. But that helps them understand it is a safe space. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Just come talk. Be willing to do the non-traditional thing. If working on a car while talking to somebody helps, do that. Be willing to do the odd things that don't really seem like it's therapy. Learn how to have the conversation without saying the direct words. And I know that sounds strange, but there's a lot of things that veterans, we don't really like to talk about.
Yeah.
And many providers, now there are some trauma providers who get that, but there are also a lot of trauma providers who think we need to talk about our ish. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking, like, dude, you don't know what I went through. Like, don't tell me it's all in my head. Like, of course it's in my head. It's my damn PTSD. Of course it's in my head. So don't tell me that me navigating my anxiety and twitchiness is all in my head. Like, thanks, dude.
I knew that.
You know, which is a thing that is my therapist from the VA really did tell me that. It's all in your head.
But you're feeling it throughout your body because you're being triggered, and it's not just your head, it's your heart, it's your stomach, it's everything about you is now on alert. You're being by the way, Dr. Marnie Hill Fauderio, she was on the show. I can't, Rochelle, tell me, give me your name.
She was. Hi, Dr. Marnie. She says, glad you are speaking on this topic. Your voice is and will be the voice for so many who are afraid to speak up. Kevin, your platform is amazing. I think we can all agree on that. And oh my gosh, the concept having this with you, I'm like, where do you live? Because I'm going to get on a flight and I'm going to come give you a hug and we're going to work it all out. But if it was that simple, we would all be doing that. And that's why we have these conversations, because not everybody and their situation is the same, but there's a way that we can come together to heal.
But there's a lot of parallel to that. And people, broad stroke statements here. People love to think their trauma is unique. Hate to break it to you. No, it's not.
Yep.
Yes, we all go through different ish, but there is so much similarity. People love to compare their trauma. Either they say like, oh, this person's had it worse than me. I shouldn't feel this way. Or you have somebody's like, oh, I've been through so much more. What are you talking about? Like, no, trauma's effing trauma. Stop comparing.
Yep.
The conversations don't have to be hard. People love to make things more complicated than what they are.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't. We can make it as simple as it needs to be.
And it can be incredibly freeing.
100%.
At the same time.
Yes.
Melissa, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're a veteran and you're going through tough times, two things. Number one, 988. I'm hopeful that number is still available.
Yes.
And because of military member, hit the number 1 and you'll get into that system. The second thing is call Melissa. She can work worldwide with you anywhere that you are. And she can help you get through that trauma so that you can live the life. Because, it kills me, Melissa. The military works for years to take the humanity out of a soldier because it doesn't serve that purpose. And now we have to reacquaint them with humanity and to bring them back into a place where they can feel again. Because they were taught not to feel in the military, weren't they?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I'm a rock star at compartmentalizing and just moving to the next thing. Like I hate to say it. It's a skill that I wish I didn't have. It has come in handy, unfortunately, where even now that I'm not in the military, there have been times where I have had to be in a crisis response situation. And thanks to Uncle Sam's 15 years of nonsense, I can flip that switch like a rock star and step in. No questions asked. Do I wish I had that switch? No. Am I grateful I have it? Yes. Do I want to live in that state? Absolutely not. But because I've done so much healing work, it truly is a switch now. It's not a constant state of being.
So, Rochelle, if somebody wants to call Melissa, which I highly, highly, highly recommend, how do they do it?
They would go to the melissaleeparent.com. I think it's unfortunate. No, wait. I don't know what word to use, but I think that is beautiful. You got that last name because you are an intuitive coach, energy healer, medium, which this is where I give this side of us. Please come back. We have so much more to talk to you about. And also plant medicine facilitator.
Yeah.
I am amazed by the person that you are, talking about welcoming to being unbound, which a lot of us put ourselves in those circles and those frames and those titles, and you're breaking us away from that. So go visit her website, which again is the melissaleeparent.com. If you didn't get to listen to this entire show, and if you have more questions. And Melissa, sincerely, thank you. I've waited to hear with you all week.
Well, I can guarantee you this, kids. If you're listening to this and you don't have any more questions, you haven't been listening to this.
Yes, I'd agree. My mom even just texted me and she said, dude, I've done a course in the energy healing she's talking about. So as long as we're creating the domino effect, I think we're going to be fine, but we need you back for a lot more of that.
I would love to be. Thank you.
Of course.
And we've exceeded our time limit, so we're going to be in trouble again, Rochelle, but that's what happens when we're talking to someone like Melissa. So thank you so much for being here. It's been so impactful.
Thank you. We love you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.